G'day everyone, welcome back to another weekly tipping video on the channel. In this video today, I'm going to be going over my tips for round 19 of the 2023 AFL season. If you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, that'd be much appreciated. Now let's kick it off with my tips from last week. Right over on to my tips from round 18, a pretty average score I guess you could say, a 5 out of 9. Could have probably done a lot better. A few of the close 50-50 primetime games I was on the wrong end of. Kicking off with the first two. Tipped the Bulldogs away at the SCG just because I felt, they should have smacked the Swans in the contest. They sure did, but again, it's an unconvincing tip when tipping the Bulldogs because their ball movement and defending ball movement is quite bad, and the Swans were able to beat them with pressure and at ground level when moving the ball. So yeah, that was an insane game. Swannies keeping their season alive with very slim chances. Tipped the Lions, and oh, for goodness sake, if you did tip the Lions, you probably are quite unhappy because they did choke a 4-goal lead or something around that at three-quarter time. But what a comeback that was from the D's, one of the games of the year. Pretty easy tip with tipping the Pies. They're just the team to go with, especially at home. Backed in Gold Coast, just felt they are the better side at the moment than the Saints, and they got a nice convincing win by around 4 goals. Tipped Port Adelaide, probably backed them in a little bit too much, but I did feel that Carlton would come and turn up to play with this one, and they just knocked them out of the park, really. Their ball movement much better, playing with confidence, and their stoppage dominance seems to be back. I'll tip the Cats, obviously at home. Bit of a convincing tipper. You've got to back them at home, really. They are a very hard team to knock off over there at 𝐓𝐴, and wow, they smacked them. That was a pretty convincing win in the end. It was 46-1 at quarter time. The Dons, yeah, wow, I'm probably shell-shocked from that performance. Pretty poor from them. And then, yeah, backed in Adelaide. I don't know if many people would have tipped the Giants. They actually are quite good at that venue, but, you know, you probably think the Giants would come close. But the quality of Adelaide at home would get it done. But no, they really did bow their heads, and they didn't have enough people stand up. Just felt like Laird and Dawson and a few of those key players doing the heavy loading, whilst the Giants, with pretty much everyone in the park, played their part, defence strong, moved the ball well, and they got a huge upset win. They've got a few of those this year, the Giants. They're looking quite impressive. Then the Sunday tips, pretty easy really. Can't really be backing in North Melbourne at the moment. They continue to lose, and the Hawks, convincing win. And then, yeah, pretty easy as it gets with tipping the Tigers. Even though West Coast seemed to put up a good fight, the Tigers just too good in the end, and the job done win. But in general, a few of those 50-50 games I was unable to get the better of. A few of the easy tips I got right, so pretty average in the end, 5 out of 9. Let's hope we can improve heading into round 19. Okay, everyone, so my tips for round 19, we'll kick it off with Friday night. Now, by the way, everyone, since Friday night footy is the first game of the round now back, there's no more Thursday games. The tipping videos will be back out on a Wednesday. So, yeah, if you're watching this when it comes out, you probably know why. It's not on a Tuesday anymore. That's how I like to do things. 2 days before, I upload my tips before the first game. So, yeah, Friday night footy, Essendon and the Western Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium. Hard one to look at here because both teams were pretty disappointing, especially the Dons last week. I don't know if it's just because it's against the quality side of the Cats or if it's at 𝐴 where the ground's quite skinny. They struggle to sort of play their chipmark style, but it really did start, well, the problems did really start in the midfield. They were really well negated. After quarter time, Zach Merritt barely had a sniff of it. Blicavs and O'Connor did well. They're just tougher around the ball, and this is what the Cats have been able to do this year when they're midfield is really purring. They can be a great side, and look, it just was a masterclass from Geelong, and yeah, the Dons will take plenty of lessons out of that one. They are still quite a young and inexperienced side, and they still do have a little bit of personnel issues. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐻 looks to be terribly out of form, and they don't have Draper or Phillips at the moment still. They won't have them heading into this week, I don't think. So will they continue to play Nick Bryan against the experienced ruckman of Tim English? That's probably going to have to be the case. But the Western Bulldogs, really, given the stats and the stoppage and clearance dominance they did have against the Swans last week, they probably should have won that goal from what stats say, maybe around 4+ goals. Where it did really hurt them was their ball movement inside 50, very predictable, didn't really cut many angles, and defending ball movement. Both teams, in fact, are quite poor with defending ball movement. That's been both teams one of their weaknesses this year. So I feel like, yeah, but whoever's just the most efficient, really, will get the chocolates here, and it's a hard one to look at. Essendon at Marvel Stadium usually are a very good side. Look what they did to Adelaide. They looked like an unstoppable team. But the Bulldogs, you feel like will bounce back because they always are the better looking team here on paper. They probably will be fired up after dropping that loss, and, you know, still looking at 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐾 and Norton. They are still causing plenty of scoreboard damage when going inside 50. And you feel like Tim English will continue to really dominate in the ruck in this game. So I just feel like the Bulldogs probably have a little bit more of that upside, given they are still a very strong midfield group. And they're able really, if they're on, to hit up their targets inside 50. So yeah, they've dropped a few games as I like the Bulldogs, but I feel like they'll get back on the winners list over Essendon here. I feel like Essendon will really mount up a case to win this game, but I'm just liking the Bulldogs a little bit better on paper, which usually by tipping that's not really a great thing to do because it's quite a bit of luck involved, really, tips. And, you know, a better team on paper doesn't necessarily mean a team will win the game. But I still think the Bulldogs, they'll be quite disappointed after that close loss last week. And they'll bounce back and knock off the Dons here on Friday night footy. We'll go Western Bulldogs to win. Probably around a 2 to 3 goal margin. Go Western Bulldogs by 14 points. Now for the Saturday games here. First one up, the Tigers hosting the Hawks at the MCG. Richmond with a pretty job done win last week over the Eagles. And they'll be looking to, now continue to sort of try and make it 3 in a row and try and push up into the top 8 facing the Hawks. With the Hawks, yeah, they're sort of, as I've said all this year, they are a hard team to back in, really, because they actually can catch you off guard if you tip a team or tip the opposition with quite convincingly. You know, looking at a few examples this year, they've been able to knock off a few teams, the Hawks, but then again, you can't back them in because they probably will let you down. So I think right off the bat, the Tigers should look the goods here. Dustin Martin, Shea Bolton, Tim Taranto, a few of their midfielders are in prime form and they're gaining a lot of score involvements of those particular players. And, you know, personnel back in Prestia has been great the last 2 weeks. Even when you look at their back six, Noah Bolter's in superb form. He had a fantastic game last week against the Eagles. Was just intercepting everything, you know, Aiden Grimes and of course also Voston, who's very good in the air too. Yeah, the defensive group's been really good, and I feel like they're improving a little bit with the clearance game as of late. And yeah, facing the Hawks, they probably should win this game of footy, but then again, Hawthorn, they might try and make this a bit of an upset game. Their midfield certainly has the capabilities to do so. They flexed their muscles against North Melbourne last week. A lot of their star-studded midfielders, Connor McDonald, James 𝗏𝗏, Will Day, 𝗵𝐼𝐿𝐴 𝐼𝐿𝐴, a few of those, just key midfield players really inflated their stats and had a great day out last week. So yeah, I expect them to really turn up to this game, the Hawks, and probably make this a close one. But I just think the Tigers, their brand's pretty good at the moment, and they are in a bit of form. So we go Richmond to win this one, and they'll win. I don't think this will be a blowout. I think the Hawks will turn up to play, but yeah, Richmond will run away with it and will win by 19 points. Move on to the next game, Carlton hosting the West Coast Eagles at Marvel Stadium. The Blues are in some great form now. They are sitting in 10th, and if they win this game, they should be sitting in the 8th. And against the West Coast Eagles, they should be taking this one with absolute ease, really. I mean, the Blues, their stoppage game looks to be back, their ball movement's back, and I just feel like they're playing with confidence now, and we're starting to see a lot more role players do their work. The likes of David Cunningham and Jack Martin with a bit of X factor down there, and of course Jack Silvani really did the business. They will be without 𝐼𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴 for the next 6 or so weeks, but maybe does that make their forward line sort of work with maybe a less tall of a player? Maybe does 𝐼𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴 go forward a wee bit more? But their forward use is really working at the moment. They're getting into dangerous spots, and they should really expose the Eagles here convincingly. I can't really see West Coast make this a close one. We'll go the Blues by over 10 goals. They should win convincingly and bump up their percentage. So we go Carlton to win a big one by 71 points. Next game here, we've got the Brisbane Lions hosting Geelong at the Gabba. This matchup here and at this venue, I'm quite surprised this isn't a primetime game, not a Friday night or Saturday night game, but it's going to be on Foxtel. But this one bounds to be an absolute beauty. The Lions, very good team at home at the Gabba, of course. They are in some great form, and you better believe they should be fired up after that almost impossible game to drop against the D's last time out. But fortunately, I still think the Lions are sitting in a bit of a decent spot, but maybe it's that loss really cost them a spot in the top 2 or home qualifying final. But they should. Well, they are sitting still comfortably in 3rd, but yeah, hosting the Geelong Cats, where I think at this venue they seem to play well against Geelong. The last time I can think of when the Lions have played Geelong, they've beat them there quite convincingly. The Lions are just such a strong side at home. They should be a good team to tip here, but hey, Geelong are starting to really get going with their forward half use. We're starting to see from shades of last year a few of their midfielders really standing up in the cold face, and just their ball use and their forward half. So many avenues to goal. That's the difference maker. There's not really necessarily a play to lock down in their forward line. Just so many of those players. Brad Close, Grind, 𝐼𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴. You get it because he's just been a meme the past few weeks. Jeremy Cameron, he should be starting to get back into form now. Tom Hawkins as well. Kicked 5 last week. They just have So many dangerous targets back there, but what really impressed me, apart from that final term of the Lions, is their back six has actually been okay. And yeah, off the ball they have their struggles, but usually at home they do play their best. But 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻 and Harris Andrews, they have very good interceptors in the air. So I feel like if they're able to shut down those very good inside 50 entries that Geelong have, they should win this game. They're a top 4 clearance side in the competition. Top 4 at half team. They're at home. You expect the Lions to win this game, and maybe keep their top 2 chances alive. Maybe I just feel like probably it's a little bit of a bridge too far for Geelong to win this one. They might prove me wrong though, but I'll back in Brisbane, and they'll win. Maybe a close one, but we'll go, probably around a bit of a 2-goal margin. We'll go Brisbane by 10 points. Now if we move on to Saturday night footy, we've got a bit of a double header here. The first one that absolutely no one will be watching except for myself as a Swans nuffy. The Freo Dockers hosting the Sydney Swans at Optus Stadium. Well, this venue here, both these teams played back earlier in the season, and the Dockers really got it done, and how they won that game was just through the dominance they had with their tools. Obviously the Swans had a bit of their personal issues, but we saw Shaun Dux and Luke Jackson and 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻 and Josh Tracy really dominate the air, and their structure is really good. They defended well, and I feel like that's what they're going to have to do. They've been so inconsistent this year, Fremantle, and where the issues really do start is their midfield. Their midfield at the moment has been horrifically out of form. They haven't been tough enough. They haven't been able to win enough clearance. And they just really are struggling to move the ball well out of their back half. When they are on, they're a very good team at moving the ball. They find good targets inside 50. So it's hard to see the Dockers. They either are really good inside 50 or they just completely shit the bed. And I just feel like maybe with Longmuir they are really having difficulties on adjusting during the middle of a game to maybe try and shut out an opposition or try and take the game on a wee bit. So honestly, I don't know how to look at this with Fremantle, which Fremantle is going to turn up. If it's the good Fremantle, I do back him in to win this game. Even though the Swans did get the win last week, they have midfield problems too. They still got belted in clearance and contested possession. These are where most of their issues are arising, and the reason why they are still winning a few games is because their ball movement. They're still a very good side, moving the ball from defensive 50, and when they are on, or usually most of the time, they are still number 1 team in the competition for pressure. So I feel like if the Swans are able to beat them with ball movement, beat them at pressure, they probably should win this game. And yeah, the Dockers are just out of form, so I don't know if I back them. I've been terrible with tipping Fremantle this year. Every time I tip them, they lose. Every time I don't, they seem to win. So yeah, a bit of a close one here. The Swans are the favourites. But yeah, just because I really don't know. I actually really don't know this game. I can't back in any team with true in a convincing fashion, or back them in with confidence. But I might take it with a bit of bias. I might back in the Swans. I feel like we can beat Fremantle with the ball movement, and both their midfields, the team's midfields have been inconsistent. Shaun Dux is going to be out as well, so that's I'm pretty sure he is. So that's going to be a huge key part of their midfield taking out, especially with their clearance game. So I just feel like the Swans beaten them probably with ball movement, and they've been a very good pressure side too. So we're back in the Swans. They're usually quite good at Optus as well. So yeah, the Swans I think will beat Fremantle, and yeah, a bit of a hard competitive game of footy. The Swans run away with it and win by 13 points. And for the game of the round, I wish I could watch this game, but they decided to play it at the same time as the Swans are playing. But enough of me whinging. I've done that enough this year. Port Adelaide hosting the Pies at Adelaide Oval. 𝑊𝐿𝐿𝐼 $1.95 to $1.85. Speaking about a few personnel changes and potentials and all that whatnot, I think 𝐓𝐿𝐿𝐼 Butters still will be playing. 𝘼𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻 𝐿𝐼𝐻 will be coming back in the team. So these are some key ins for both teams. But yeah, Port Adelaide at home have been insane this year. They've really dropped the game. And I feel like this one will go right down to the wire. Could be one of the games of the year. Probably a lot of people will be backing in Collingwood just because they are the team to beat this year. They knocked off Adelaide quite well in that fourth quarter. And that's totally fair enough, and I really do feel like, you've got to be backing in Collingwood every week. They are just simply the team to beat. Just how they play, their handball chains are so good. When they exit stoppage, everyone just gets floating forward and they make an impact. All their role players do the job. They're a very strong defensive side, so I still think they are the number 1 defence in the competition. And just form alone, given how Port Adelaide played last week, they should knock off Port Adelaide here with some sort of convincing fashion. But just these sort of games, you know, these games here, you just feel like are bound to be close, and it's bound to be whoever lifts or whoever's mentally the better side wins this game of footy. And I just feel like Port Adelaide in front of their home faithful, I know they were bad last week, but I feel like they can bounce back with a lot of their method, their ball movement, and especially their defensive efforts. And I do love how both teams are playing this year, so for me it's a 50-50 game. I think Port will turn up, and I don't know, I'm just mentally visioning this game, and I feel like I'm pretty sure Port Adelaide will get a few wins this week, and I just feel like Port Adelaide winning a thriller. They'll definitely get a bit of revenge after Collingwood knocking them over by, I think it was like 74 points back in the MCG back in round 2. We'll go Port Adelaide. I feel like they can win this game. It's a 50-50 in my opinion. And yeah, the power to get a thriller by 3 points. Now for the Sunday games here, love to see it. A game in Canberra, the GWS Giants hosting the Gold Coast Suns. The new teams cup, as I always like to say, because they were the new teams from over a decade ago now. But yeah, the Giants, well, they've been in some great form. This is their chance now to make it, I think, 5 or 6 wins in a row. I've lost count. But yeah, just how they are playing. They haven't been totally the unbeatable force or anything. They've still been a bit vulnerable in a few areas, but just you know, they're a very good team. Whenever, you know, what's been facing in front of them, they've just been able to knock off in many different ways. Mostly it's been their strong defence and their defensive 50 ball movement or transition. The Orange Tsunami, as we all like to say, that's been back. They love to take the corridor on, but they have been always a bit inconsistent in the coalface, and I feel like that's where Gold Coast could really take it up to them, because they are a very good clearance side. I feel like a few players are able to play with a bit more freedom, and I just feel like that's how it is, the Gold Coast Suns. They're sort of expectations shackled off a little bit more with the interim coach, and has the ability now with players roaming a bit more freely. You know, Sam Flanders and the team's been in great form, and they've mixed around the magnets around the midfield too. And, you know, Elijah Holland's back in the team. Ben King's been a little bit out of form. Mostly it's been led by 𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐿𝐼. Jack Lukosius always an on and off player. Can he bring his shooting boots to this game on Sunday afternoon? So yeah, it's almost like which Gold Coast will turn up, because if it's a strong one, I think they can win this game and really knock off the Giants here. But I actually do have to say, the Giants have been, record-wise at Mardi Gras Oval, actually pretty poor team. They actually seem to lose most of their games there. But granted, it's usually because they do play against sides that are the favourites. So given they are the favourites here, and they're in some great form, you know, Sam Taylor's been brilliant. 𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐼, I don't think they'll get Tom Green back. But yeah, a few of their forwards, Hogan and Riccardi's been in great form too. Well, back in the Giants at home, I think they'll finally get a win in Canberra. Can't remember the last time they won in Canberra, genuinely. So it's been a while. But yeah, this one I think could be close, but the Giants run away with it, and they'll win by 17 points. Next game here, 3:20 PM on the Sunday afternoon at the MCG. The D's hosting the Adelaide Crows. Well, the last time Adelaide were at this particular venue, they lost an absolute thriller against the Pies, so I do expect Adelaide to really turn up here, and they just seemed to look really good at the MCG last time out. I know I say this, but the venue is a really big part, but they really seem to take the game on with their ball movement. Dawson and Laird had big games, and Walker as well, and to be honest, when you look at Adelaide's loss last week, it's probably just because of the inability to really pick out their targets inside 50. You know, Rochelle was quiet, Walker barely had a touch after half time. And they really seem to lack a lot of composure and poise under pressure in that fourth quarter. So yeah, it's always going to be another difficult challenge here against the D's, who definitely are going to be up and about with their win last week. Still, I think they're having a little bit of issues when going inside 50. We saw that during the middle parts of the game against the Lions, but they are still a very strong midfield side, very good in the coalface, and they are still one of the top defensive teams in the competition. So does Adelaide pick up an upset here? I feel like they have every chance. I believe they will bounce back and really try and potentially knock off the D's with what they're known for, their strong brand of pressure, and when they are on, that can be quite a good midfield side. But their midfield always seems to be a little bit hot and cold with a lot of games I've seen this year. It's been a little bit inconsistent. Same with their defence as well. I feel like, you know, Murray and Butts and a few of those players can get you know, beat out one-on-one inside 50. So yeah, I'll back in the D's at home. They should be up and about, and a chance to try and move into third potentially. Who knows if the Lions do lose. So yeah, Melbourne to pick up a good win at home. Maybe it's a bit of a bridge too far here for the Crows, but I expect them to turn up. We'll go Melbourne to win by 16 points. And for the final game here, we've got a bit of a snooze fest here. St Kilda hosting North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. Both these teams playing again, and the last time these two sides played was just terrible. The Saints kicked well, I think it was only around 60 points, but it was something like 4 goals 20 to 3 goals 13 or something like that. I think it was like 1 goal 9 at halftime. North Melbourne kicked, or the Saints kicked, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you're probably back in St Kilda here, but I feel like a few Saints fans would genuinely be considering tipping North Melbourne, given how bad the Saints have been. Look, if you look back the past month, they have been pretty bad, but you feel like they should get a confidence-boosting win here against North Melbourne, because, yeah, North themselves just look like a VFL quality side now. I just feel like as the season is wearing on, they're starting to lose hope a little bit. Senior players aren't doing the job. Their foot skills have been awful at a defensive 50. Midfield's getting pretty convincingly beaten. You know, 𝐼𝐷𝐿's starting to find a bit of form, I guess you could say. Warlaw's a bit of an out, though. You know, 𝐼𝐷𝐿's been superb. 𝘬𝐼𝐷𝐿 was well contained last week. So, yeah, I just can't really back in North Melbourne. Maybe do they do something like against the Swans, where the spirits do really lift and a few players really turn up. You know, Bailey Scott across halfback on the wings being very good too. A few of those individual performances, they've been in some good form. But yeah, you just feel like, you know, look how they played against the Demons, the Saints. They actually played quite a decent brand. They seem to get repeated entries and everything. I think they won the inside 50 count in that game. But yeah, just about their methods been really poor, the Saints, when scoring. But look, I just feel like it's a bridge too far for North to win this. The Saints should win this game of footy. But yeah, I sort of back them with confidence and no confidence, if you get what that means. I don't know. They're a hard one to look at, the Saints, but they should beat North Melbourne here. And yeah, this should be probably a bit of a snooze fest, as I've said. But yeah, the Saints should win and stay in the top 8. You know, they still are in a decent spot. But yeah, Saints to win by 21 points. So everyone, there are my tips for round 19 of the 2023 AFL season. The season now is really starting to take shape, and especially the ladder, of course. So many teams sit on 36 points. So I will be, probably next week, be uploading my final 5 rounds, who will make the 8 sort of video, tipping video. So yeah, that should be fun to do. But if you did go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. That'd be much appreciated. And until next time, I will talk to you later. See you later, fellas.